Is the People's Manifesto against the leadership of service, protecting our progress, transforming Ghana for all manifesto. The opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, and the ruling New Patriotic Party, NPP, have unveiled their policy documents ahead of the December polls. We tabled them for a discussion, but our focus will be on the arts. My name is Benefo Boaben Abrantepa. Welcome to Bloggers Forum on Ghana Web TV. Welcome back. It's Bloggers Forum here on Ghana Web TV. Before I introduce my guest, here's what the two major political parties have for the arts.
We see the creative arts as a major growth pole. There's so much talent in the creative arts, but the problem they have is access to studios because there's no capital to do that. And so this is why we are going to set up large recording studios in Accra, Kumasi, Tema, and Takoradi as part of our entrepreneurial hub strategy in partnership with the private sector.
Build modern theaters and studios for the development and promotion of the creative arts. Construct a multi-purpose convention and exhibition center aimed at repositioning Ghana as West Africa's destination for meetings, conferences, and exhibitions. Refurbish the National Theatre. Upgrade NAFTI into a fully fledged multimedia university for film, arts, theatre, and music.
Arnold Asamoah Bedu writes for entertainmentgh.com. Arnold, welcome.
That's it.
And Nenebi is a columnist, a lawyer in the making, author of The Clickbait Culture, which will be unveiled in November this year. Nene, welcome.
Thank you.
Right. So let me begin with Arnold. What will be your assessment of the NPP government as far as the arts is concerned?
Well, for me and a lot of people who have actually studied the NPP manifesto and what they've actually done, you would agree with me that most of their achievements were outside the manifesto promises. So, for example, the Creative Arts School, that was not captured in the manifesto. Funding was also not captured from the manifesto. With regard to funding, what was captured was the Creative Arts Bill and the Creative Arts Fund. And so that was not really captured in their 2016 and 2020 manifesto. Again, Film Village, the progress that has been made in regard to the Film Village was not captured. However, there's been some progress. So mainly most of the stuff that they've been able to, or they claim they've been able to achieve, were not directly stipulated in their manifesto. So for me, in regard to achievement, something has been done. Because I always maintain the fact that anybody that says they've not done anything, that person is wrong. There's been some inroads made by this government. However, if you are really connecting with the manifesto, because that's actually what they promised, commitments, provisions and all, that most have not been achieved. And when you go outside the manifesto, there's been some progress.
Nene, your assessment?
Generally, my assessment of every government ever is that every government deserves an E for effort. Because I don't necessarily subscribe to the notion that it is the duty of government to develop any sector of any economy except those sectors which fall under the public sector. Yeah. But then one thing that the NPP government has done, which for me, I would say is the biggest progress any government can do in relation to creative arts in Ghana, it's the office of the 2005 Copyright Act created the National Folklore Board. And we've had the National Folklore Board since 2005 to date. But what is supposed to be the mandate of the National Folklore Board has not really been
defined.
It has been defined, but it has not really been implemented until when NPP came to power and they appointed one lawyer to man that office. And then so far they have been trying to protect our culture, heritages. There's something called geographic location in under intellectual property, where some things which belong to a particular geographic location should be owned by that geographic location. Something like Kente, right? Outside Ghana, when most people hear Kente, they don't think about Ghana, they think about Africa. But the NPP government have been trying to put steps to make the rest of the world recognize Kente as a geographic location item of Ghana. The Dinkra symbols, you know, even some sounds. The National Folklore Board have been trying to own it for us as a country. And I think that is what I'll consider to be the biggest achievement of the government in relation to creative arts.
Looking at the 2020 manifesto too, it's clear that the policies that they have for the arts is lesser than the 2016 manifesto. Were you expecting anything different or not?
No. I mean, I think by they pruning the number, it's a testament that, listen, maybe we overestimated ourselves. Because mind you, even the politicians, the high-profile personalities in politics, who previously were in opposition, when they come in government, one thing they say is, listen, we did not anticipate this. While we were outside, we felt we could do it, but when we came inside, it's different. And so I'm thinking that once they overestimated themselves with regard to what they could achieve, the moment they were given the mandate, they realized the frontier. They were like, it's a bit torrid to actually achieve all this. So why not prune it down and make it achievable or make it reasonable? And so I'm thinking that's the mindset that they had, actually pruning the number down from close to 18 to like 6. And even the 6, you also feel there are repetitions, like the Creative Arts Bill, Creative Arts Fund, the theaters. You know, these are stuff that were in the 2016 manifesto and were replicated in the 2020 manifesto as well. And so for me, I think they have an understanding and the knowledge that, listen, let's put the number down so that it will be achievable or to make sense to the general public.
Nene, what's your major takeaway, the NPP manifesto?
Like I said, okay, I have to say this. I didn't register this election, so I'm not voting. So it means that I'm not expecting anything from either parties, right? Because I don't believe, okay, I've said that already. So. But out of the 6 things that the NPP has listed, right, there are 2 things that I believe fall within what I personally expect from a government, right? The construction of the theater, and then the construction, they said they want to construct convention and exhibition centers in Accra. And I was wondering why they are going to construct more convention and exhibition centers in Accra. What happens to the trade fair? The trade fair is supposed to be a convention exhibition center, right? And the trade fair has been deteriorating from year in, year out, and it still keeps getting worse. And no government since I'll say 2009, because I think before 2009 the trade fair, the national trade fair was very was active. I don't know what happened, but since from Atamel to Mahama through to the current president, we've never read the national trade fair doesn't happen with the publicity it used to happen, and then the trade fair center itself, with the exception of the private businesses in there, which some are doing well, the trade fair itself is not making any progress. They keep getting worse. So I have expected them to say probably they would renovate the trade fair center, they will make the trade fair center, they'll bring it to a global standard. Because the trade fair has space. It has everything you need to have a convention and exhibition center. So I felt like that one is just something that they put in a manifesto to make it look like, you know, they have something to offer.
But you see, maybe just contradicted himself here. You know, the earlier submission, he talked about the fact that with regard to the promises or the stuff in the manifesto, it was not the government's mandate to do a lot of stuff. It was not the government's. And I knew you'd crash on that point.
Yeah.
Here, we've got the theater. Here is the Navy talking about the fact that he expects the government to do the theaters.
Let me explain why. I'll come to try to explain that to you.
Let me finish.
Okay,
let me hold on.
You understand? So here, in one breath, you do not expect the government to actually do stuff for us within the arts, but you're expecting them to fix a theater. Mind you, all the big or large sitting theaters across the world are not owned by government. They are owned by individual or private entities.
Yeah.
However, there's an advantage of government owning a theater or a conference center, because at the end of the day, when you go rent or hire that center, you have to pay. The money goes into the coffers of the government. That money can be used to do other developmental projects. So you say,
so I was coming there.
Come there.
You see, the National Theatre,
yes,
previously used to have clubs, right?
Yeah.
And the idea of everywhere in the world where there are national, state or public theatres,
yeah,
where in most parts of the world they are amphitheaters, because those ones are cheaper to run, and those ones are so they can be rented out for cheaper rates. But a national theatre is not an amphitheater, so even though it's a government theatre, they don't have a competitive rates. But that's not beside the point. The point I'm trying to make is that a national theatre used to have clubs where the focus was to train young people who were interested in the art and culture from school going age, from when they were in school, and then when they grow up, they can go into their private business and all that. So when I say the government to build theater, I'm thinking about that from the perspective of the government used to have mechanisms where they trained people who wanted to go into theater. Yeah. And that is education. That falls under education. Education in our country have by and large been a public sector issue. Yeah. Yeah. So for me, the National Theatre or the building of theatres will lend itself to the setting up of clubs or setting up of
but you also understand the fact that it's bigger than that. I mean, fixing the last sitting multi-purpose theatre is bigger than just forming clubs to come and dance and sing and go. But you understand? And then you talk about the trade fair. You and I know, and you can check. Ghana Web, you can check and see. There's been some monies allocated for the refurbishment of the trade fair
every year.
Yeah,
they've been doing that. They've been saying that they've been doing that. Every government says they'll be allocating money.
But this particular one, that's why there was some demolition.
Yes. And that was what I wanted to, before Arnold came in, just when you were about ending your submission, that was what I wanted to draw your attention to. Because I remember we covered the demolition, the one that had got to do with Remonacha and some other people. So if you say that the trade fair has not seen a facelift, or so they are okay. So I didn't know that they have started a process. I didn't know that they started a process. Okay, cool. So if they started a process, why then would they say they are trying to build more convention and centers in Accra? Because they specifically said in Accra. So what about the rest of the country? Because I know that in Kumasi people have trade fairs in the Prempeh Assembly Hall, which is not a trade fair center. But in Kumasi, that's where people have that. But I don't know about the rest, other regions. So I assume that instead of focusing on building such centers in Accra, they should have looked at building more or establishing more exhibition and convention centers outside Accra. Okay, so we will take a break. When we return, we'll still have a conversation on the manifestos. We just started with the NPP. We will bring on board the NDC, and then we'll see whether or not indeed they have interest in the arts. Welcome back to the show. It's still Bloggers Forum here on Ghana Web TV. My name is Abrantepa. My guest, are still with me. Anoda Samuabedu writes for entertainmentgh.com. Nene B is a columnist and author of Clickbait Culture, which will be unveiled in November. Before we went on the break, Nene was on the floor. But let me shift my attention now to Arnold and ask whether or not he expected something to be captured in the NPP manifesto that wasn't.
Not really. And when the manifesto came out, and I compared the 2016 one to the 2021, one of the things I raised, or one of the issues I raised, was the fact that for the manifesto, I'm not talking about stuff outside the manifesto. If you gave us 18 provisions in the 2016 manifesto, and you were unable to achieve 80%, what's the guarantee that we're able to achieve what you are promising us now? That's my biggest question. Because the same excuses that you are giving us now. So, for example, when it came to the theaters, one of their high-profile personalities or communicators, Sokwe Safo, said, "Oh, we're unable to build the theaters because of land-related issues." What's the guarantee that moving into 2020 and beyond, we will not have issues to do with land? You understand? So you are promising me you build a convention, a large capacity convention center and exhibition, whatever it is. However, you've not been able to fix one theater based on the 2016 progress. Again, what's the guarantee that we'll be able to do this? So my issue has always been execution, results. Considering the fact that you have a track record of not achieving what you promised. So me, I was not expecting anything different. But them pulling down the number gave me a certain mindset that probably they've thought twice about the high number of promises and to pull it down. However, I did not accept anything different from regard to we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do that.
But with what has been captured, how achievable do you think they are?
It's questionable. Very questionable, seriously. Because see, theaters. It's only last week that we heard that the minister, in conjunction with some Chinese company, have gone to sign an MOU for the construction of a theater in Kumasi. But mind you, in their narrative, from the president through the vice president to every spokesperson, they tell us that the theaters have been completed. So which new theater is being built? So the communication and the confusion, especially when it comes to their narrative, is a problem. So for me, it is questionable as to how many things they will be able to achieve with these provisions for the 2020.
Nene, does the NDC's manifesto provide a better alternative?
Does the NDC manifesto provide? In two regards, I'll say yes. In regards to the NPP manifesto, didn't. Okay, so in 1982, the Secretary of Culture at the time was a Professor, is it Dr. Mohammed bin Abdallah? Yeah. That man set up as part of the educational curriculum, the cultural studies, which was supposed to be part of the educational studies in Ghana. And when we were introducing JSS in 1990, I think it was the churches who confronted the government that teaching cultural studies in schools was teaching fetish or was teaching something fetish worship, and the idol worship and things like that in school. So for that matter, the cultural studies was taken out of our curriculum and the religious and moral education was instituted under our curriculum. However, what the government did was organize competitions among students, which was cultural competitions, inter-school cultural competitions among basic school. And then if you won your district, you go to the regional competition. If you win your region, then you go to the national competition. I think the winner at the time used to perform at where they used to have this festival at the time. It wasn't Panafest, it was a different name, there was a different festival then. It wasn't Kida Fest. There was a different festival, which was a national festival for culture. NAFAC, yes. Yeah, there was NAFAC. So the winners from the basic school got to perform on NAFAC, and it was a big morale boost for schools who were government schools to partake and study about culture without the government doing what, you know, governments have to always protect their political interests.
Yeah.
So the government didn't, you know, offend its political interests with the churches, but still found a way to work around those things. And that was because at the time the First Lady was somebody who was very interested in arts and culture, so always found a way to push that agenda. But then, since we entered into the 2000s and the subsequent governments we've had, all those programs have been taken out of the schools, right? But in the NDC manifesto, they have provisions for having cultural studies as part of their educational curriculum, and then organizing competitions as part of their, it's all captured in their manifesto, right? And I think that those two items, in my opinion, highlights the fact that the NDC are taking a more serious, practical, achievable goals towards the creative arts than the NPP. Because when you tell me you will build theaters, right? I think the NDC also have things about building theaters, but we all know that in the next 4 years, they're going to find a different excuse for us why we're not able to build. But it all boils down to money. Governments don't have enough money to spend on quote-unquote leisure. And the creative art happens to fall under leisure. So where you don't have anybody in government championing that agenda, I don't think that those agendas will be met, even if the government wants to, because the government doesn't have the money. But with things like education and competitions, it can be achieved. So yes, I'll say the NDC had a better manifesto with regards to those two things, because of those two things. Yes.
Arnold, what's your take on the NDC's manifesto?
Well, I like two words that he used: practical and achievable. However, I'm not overly convinced, and my claim is stemmed from track record. I do not even want to go into the 2016 manifesto because they were not given the mandate. So when you go into it, the excuse was, we were not given a mandate, so it doesn't count. However, when you look at the 2012 manifesto, that's when you can actually hold them to it, because they were given the mandate. And so you check the manifesto and see what they were able to do in terms of progress. When you look at the 2012 manifesto, most of the things were not done. And I will just run you through a few. Commence the rehabilitation of abandoned regional theatres of national cultures and establish district centres for national culture. Question mark.
And they still have it in this manifesto.
Yes. Revive cultural festivals in basic and secondary circle institutions to help nurture the nation's creative resources. Question mark. Support arts and craft works and other vocational skills in basic and senior high schools as well. Question mark. Promote the establishment of the culture and business desks in Ghanaian missions abroad. Question mark. So most of the things that were enlisted in 2012 manifesto.
I think to play the devil's advocate, I think because they had a decency of recapturing these things in their 2020 manifesto.
I don't care. I don't care. Why?
Because the NPP didn't capture those things that they had in their 2020.
Once we are done with it, let's stay here.
Yes, I'm not continue.
Let's stay here. So based on track record and what I've highlighted to you right now, that's why I'm not overly convinced. Again, when you look at the manifesto, there have been repetition of promises.
Yeah.
And you can actually see it, But first of all, let's even tackle the creation or the standalone of creative and digital economy ministry. Abrantepa. Were we not in Ghana here? And the presidential candidate of NDC criticized this certain government for the bloated or high number of ministerial positions.
Yeah.
So what does this one mean? If you separate or segregate the creative industry from the tourism industry, what are you doing?
You're creating another ministry.
Ministry, 2 ministers, possibly 3. So clearly, I'm not too. And again, I have not been a fan of those people who have touted that, oh, we need separation. Why? Because we all understand the fact that tourism and creative industry are intertwined.
Yeah.
You need a creative industry to actually project tourism, and you need tourism to actually help the creative industry. So they are intertwined. So the separation really does not matter. Again, it's all about goodwill, commitment, and the will without to actually fix it. You can actually have a standalone ministry and there will still be less attention to it. Digital economy. For me again, I think it's just they play with nomenclature or words. We do admit that the importance of digital projections or digital improvisations is very key in the creative industry. However, we would also understand the fact that we are now in a digital space. So every sector needs digitization.
Yeah.
So there's no need actually adding digital economy to creative. Because in this space, in this age and this dispensation, you cannot talk about creative industry without digital projections. So for me, they are just playing with the words. And the only place that you go that is use the word creative and digital economy is the UK. You understand? So I really do not get the mindset behind actually fixing a new ministry. It doesn't solve anything.
Which policy would you say you are so much interested in that, I mean, you are happy it's been captured by the NDC?
Oh, I can't make we know but so there.
No,
because if you look at most of what they've written, Abrantepa, for example,
go through that before that question.
And this is for our discussion. Sure. Resource nationally recognized creative arts bodies like the Ghana National Writers Musical National Film Authority. So I want to ask, what is a nationally recognized grouping? Maybe you can help me because you've been a big player of music over the years.
I've not been a big player.
It's like you have to be registered.
No, but you see,
you see, usually I think that I'm coming with nationally because I have some knowledge of what.
Oh, now there you have.
I'm not a big part. I have some knowledge of what transpires music.
Okay.
I think when they say nationally recognized, it has more to do with numbers and the players of that industry, their recognition of that body.
So what would you use to measure the
nationally recognized?
The recognition.
If most musicians want to be member of Musica, the Musica is more nationally recognized than any other grouping of musicians. You understand? It's all boiled down to the players in that industry. Because it's the players of that industry that will tell the government, this is our body.
You know why I find it? You also have a
problem.
But
when it comes to government operations, the honest truth is that it all boils down to connections.
Yeah, but you see, there's a problem with this provision. Because first of all, we are here struggling to define what a nationally recognized body is or grouping is. Again, once you put this there, you are defeating the talk of freedom of association.
Yeah.
Because mind you, there are lots of individual associations which are more organized than the likes of Musica and the Guva and the
and they are not nationally recognized.
Mention one. Please, I just want to
I won't mention.
Please,
but what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that you put here.
I think the issue has to do with the nationally recognized.
So what? I should join Musica before I can't join any other.
But you see, the thing is that provision for me itself is even bogus, even without the national.
I say it. I mean, Kasabe say. Let me touch on the positives. Number 6. Restores the national museums and empower them to function properly and create a space for exhibitions. This is where your use of the word practical and achievable comes in.
Yeah.
Because this same provision reflects in the NPP manifesto. However, the NPP's one looks more audacious. This one looks more practical. Because listen, if I tell you that I'm going to renovate the national museums, that can easily be done. And then create a space where I'll do exhibitions. And so, like I've been saying all the time, the works of our legends, both dead and alive, can be exhibited. We do not have any space to do that exhibition. So if I come and tell you that I'll build a large convention theater plus exhibition center. Check it out with me saying I'll renovate the national museums and create a space for exhibition. Which one makes more? It looks more practical.
Which one does?
No, yeah, discussion here having. You get it. So
before I come in, somebody always asks me that why is that you are always quiet, never give your opinion and anything.
Because
yes,
it's a discussion. What do you think?
From where I sit, I can't share my view, my opinion.
No, but who's
this is an interactive program. So I've given you the scenario. One says it will build a large convention.
I have a problem with the use of the large because you see, it's that's what happened to the theaters, right?
Yes.
They will build a large capacity, large this, large that, and we've not seen it. So the large alone scares me.
So you think the museum, renovating the museums and creating space for exhibition looks more?
It's quite
doable.
Simple and you know, yeah.
Yes, but let me go to another one.
Okay. You want to
hear more from you.
There's another one which I think we should discuss. Number 12, make available scholarship packages for disadvantaged creative artists to pursue courses for programs and self-development in the national interest. Good, that's good. But my point is, who is a disadvantaged creative artist?
I swear they should have used disabled.
So no, no. You are giving it a different meaning.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought they should have used. That's what I said.
No, but even the disabled is not. Okay, that's what you suggest.
Yes,
but it's not even synonymous to the disadvantage. Because the impression I get, a disadvantaged person, someone who doesn't have the spotlight, someone who the recognition is not that high compared to the others. Is that
that's what I also think. So, you know, by the period we always talk about the less, like I'm saying,
less privileged,
or the creative bits that are not given necessary attention.
But you know that has been, but times are different. That has been done by governments before, and then Nkrumah. That's when Mactonto and the rest. Yes, that's why I said the times are different.
Yes.
And then Nkrumah, they have Mactonto, the people in film industry, people in even the certain people in visual arts were given scholarships by governments. But what they did at the time was not based on the word disadvantage. What they did at the time was they organized their school competitions and the winners were given scholarships to go outside and pursue education in the creative arts. So I think that even bringing back what used to be done a long time ago in Nkrumah days would have made more sense than the word disadvantage.
So let me try punch more holes. Number 1, implement programs to support the growth of the film, music, and the creative industry to drive job creation and economic growth. What programs?
Okay, before you go in, right? You didn't do this with the NPP manifesto. You didn't take it one point at a time.
I asked which ones he has a
challenge
with, and then the positives.
No, but
so
Abrantepa, even the NPP one, you and I, you just confirm for me. Have we not thoroughly gone through it?
Yes.
Like you take the point one after the other. Who will be preferential treatment?
Don't be distracted. Wrap up for me.
I should wrap up. Let me find another one. My memory. 3 and 4. Maybe but also distracted. See 3 and 4. Stretching regulation to protect the copyrights of artists and blah 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 blah. And then C4. Set up a system of legal aid for creative artists to help fight creative intellectual the same. At the end of the day, we are talking about protection of intellectual properties. So why would you want to put 1 at 3, 1 at 4?
I see. You've
the three. I want to say something. The 3 and 4 are two different though.
Oh, boss.
But then he said the 4 is set up a system for legal aid for creative artists to help fight creative intellectual theft. That is different from strengthening the copyright of artists to ensure legal aid and strengthening of protecting copyright are two different things. Legal aid means that they'll be giving you, if you need lawyers and things like that, that's what it means. But even though they have different ends, they're all different things.
Okay, right.
Legally speaking.
Another has been mentioning track record. Based on the track record of these two political parties, which of them do you think
Do I have to answer that?
No,
question?
I'm just asking. Which of them is most likely to fulfill?
Which of them is more like? None of them actually.
None.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think that most of the things in both parties' manifesto are not practical and achievable. The things which have to do with education and competition and things like that, those ones I think both of them are in positions to achieve. What if they have said that their manifesto is partner with private sector or seek investors too? Then I would say it is achievable, because investors are you can always tell me that you tried and you were not successful.
Okay. Arnold, same question.
Well, it's difficult for me because you mentioned track record, and based on their track record, I'm not too sure which party is in a better position to help us. Because Abrantepa, what do we need? Very simple things. First, we need a government to provide a convivial environment for us to thrive. Simple. Two, we need a platform to market infrastructure to actually showcase our stuff, distribution links, on all that stuff. We need funding. It's very simple support. However, I am not too convinced any of these guys have the will and the wherewithal to actually push the creatives. Seriously, I do not know. I'm really confused. Maybe I will have to look out for PPP or NDC
before
NP. What's the
CPP,
NDP.
TNC,
NPP would actually do more for private for the creative arts, because their candidate is somebody who is very interested in the creative arts and has, with her track record, done things for the creative arts industry.
Okay.
She was the one who gave us the most important case program we find in the history of Ghana, which is By the Fireside.
Right. But before you go, I mean, let me highlight a few things that are very positive in the manifesto. Provide seed money for the creation of a special fund for artists, including the aged and needy creative artists. Positive. And let's
done that already.
Let's applaud JM, because we all know that gentleman is heavy on that. Even when he was in power, he used to do that. And so for him to actually put it in a manifesto tells of somebody who really has the aging artist or creative personalities, in his plans. That's positive. And the other positive bit is facilitate the enrollment of creative artists onto the informal pension scheme. Another positive move.
Thank you for watching. I've been on the show with Arnold Asamoah-Bedu. Arnold writes for entertainmentgh.com. Nene B is a columnist and author of The Clickbait Culture. My name is Benefo Boabin Abrantepa.